Good evening, fellow Plexers. I meant to make this video earlier today, but the day got away from me. We're going to try to answer a question for Eric out of the Plexaholics Facebook group, all about adding a second version of an album to Plex server with a music library. So specifically, it's this group, Joji, that I've never heard of before. And it has to do with the In Tongues regular album and the deluxe edition. Let me read his post to you. I'm having an issue adding some music to Plex. I have 2 songs that are unreleased and then a whole album that is the deluxe version of an album I already have. The deluxe album was released normally and is listed pretty much everywhere except for in Ladar. I can't get Plex to recognize any of it. I have the deluxe album name like the standard one with the word deluxe in parentheses at the end of that, since that's actually how it's named. And I just have the unreleased songs in a folder with the artist name and unreleased as what I guess would be the album title. I could not come up with any unreleased songs for this artist, but I have a bunch of albums by the artist, so I'm going to try to answer the question of the 2 different versions of the In Tongues releases and show you how to get everything nice and tidy with Musicbrainz Picard for the embedded metadata before we add it to one of my test Plex servers on my Ugreen NAS bench system. So first off, if you grab a bunch of music off the internet, Musicbrainz Picard is not great at knowing one version of the album from another if it has the same tracks on it, because you could have a US release, a UK release, a Japanese release, and other releases. You could have a Chinese release. Maybe one song might change here and there, but you could have the same number of tracks with all the same songs for all those albums, and technically they are all different releases of the same music. So if you painstakingly use Musicbrainz Picard to match each of those individual releases up to the proper metadata, Plex is still going to scan them all in 4 times as the same album with the same cover art, unless the cover art was different in the database that Musicbrainz Picard uses. So if someone wants to have everything an artist ever released, Plex isn't the best to have the same album through multiple releases. And you could do a little editing to say Japanese release, UK release, and maybe if you're in the US, leave that as just the default release. Or vice versa. If you're in the UK and you know you have UK releases of everything and you have a couple US or Chinese or Japanese or German releases, you could manually edit that once it's scanned in. They will scan in as a separate item. So the first thing to know is Plex does not care about the structure. It does not care about the structure at all. Unlike a movie or a TV show library, we're matching with a default library and all the default settings are based on the structure and file naming. A music library goes off the embedded metadata, which is where Musicbrainz Picard comes in. So we're going to start with Musicbrainz Picard by showing you how to set it up properly, in my opinion, and then we're going to start with these 2 albums just like Eric was having trouble with. And then we'll add the rest and see what happens. Now this is a cold video, and sometimes I run into trouble, and I made sure that I had some multiple albums to show you some pitfalls. Okay, so first off, Musicbrainz Picard is available under Mac, Linux, or Windows, and I'm running Ubuntu 25.10 on this NVMe drive on my computer. This is a warning telling you that changes cannot be undone. They are not reversible. I have a text file that shows this naming script that I like that I got off from Reddit. So I'm going to just highlight that. I will put it in the description of this video. So to start with, let's show some directory structure. when I'm working on music on my computer, I don't want processed albums through Musicbrainz Picard to end up in the same working folder I'm working out of. Now you see my past. In my downloads folder, I have a subfolder called FileBot Working Folder. I'm not using FileBot, but this is the area where I'm going to use Picard. So these two folders, I use FileBot. This folder, I'm using Musicbrainz Picard. And this is just a backup of what I'm doing now in case I flub the video and I have to start fresh. So that's my, well, actually it's not my, so I didn't start too well. I must have hit copy or move, cut instead of copy. Yep, I did. I thought I was making a copy. So let's do copy. Let's copy everything here so I have a backup in case I have to start the video fresh. So I want Musicbrainz Picard to direct finish albums to this folder, and this is simply music under home. If you know anything about Linux, home is going to be under, or all this is going to be under my username. It should be home Albert Music. And then this path leads to my Ugreen DXP 4800 plus NAS, and here's the music folder we'll be adding things into. I'm going to keep it at this level so it's less confusing for me. I guess that level's less confusing, so I can tell these apart. Okay, so I've copied these over. Now, if you just grab a whole mess of albums off the internet, you may want to do some preliminary checking to see what's different. And if you notice, I have 2 Daylight albums. This says 3 items, that says 4. Let me click into this. That's actually a movie. I don't want that. It's a video. This is a song. Obviously a single. Maybe it's unlisted. I don't know. And then look at this structure. There's another subfolder, and inside here we have 12 songs, and you see it already has the album artwork embedded. This might scan in perfectly fine to Plex and make a match, but I run everything through Musicbrainz Picard. So here's the In Tongues album that Eric already has. I assume it's this one. And again, this is nested, and there's 6 songs. All right, and here's the deluxe one that has 16 songs. So instead of going through the rest, we'll just start with these 2. So this is the regular one. Let me bring Musicbrainz Picard over from my other monitor. And I'm just going to drag this into the left pane. And I'll maximize that. So what I want to do is I want to cluster, and before I do anything, I can look to see if it has enough metadata to scan into Plex as it is. It might. I have the album artwork. If I click on the, oh sorry, I don't have the right album. I wanted In Tongues, the regular one. I'm click happy this evening, so we'll cluster that. It does have album cover art, and what I want to look at, instead of the individual songs, I want to look at the whole album, because this will tell me that this is the artist title across all the songs. The album In Tongues -- EP is across all the songs. Track numbers are different per song. The date is the same, and the album artist is the same. So if your artist, the album, the date, and the album artist are all the same, it has enough metadata to scan in, even if it's missing more, and including the cover art. So let's match this up. We use the lookup option, not the scan. The scan is the next option if lookup doesn't work. Now I'm waiting for a gold CD, and I'm not getting it. So this did not match. It's still loading. Maybe I have a network issue. But I'm going to just delete that, recluster these, and this time I'll click on it and I'll scan. And now we have it. So the gold icon for the CD means it's a good match. If we expand it, the darker the green, the more likely it's a perfect match. When you get to like yellow, it may be a match, it may not be. If it's red, it's not likely to be a match. So I'm going to click on the whole album, and you'll see we have a lot of extra metadata fields filled in, and we have a lot that match, and only a few are different. The track number is different per track, the length is different per song, the acoustic ID, each song has its own, and so on. Now if I click on an individual song, we'll see that we have a full date here instead of just the single year. The track length is the same and the track position is the same. Now in the database, it's called in tongues, it's not marked EP. Plex will know it's an EP if it's supposed to be an EP. I don't know how exactly. Oh, right here, release type, EP. It doesn't need to be in the name. So, if you have an unreleased single, which I don't have to use an example, you can add release type and mark it single or EP, give it a unique name, add cover art, and if I wanted new cover art, I'd right-click on the new cover art, and I'd choose local file, and I'd upload it to that song. And if I had a whole album I wanted to do, let's drag this back over. So say this wouldn't match. If I wanted to do a whole album of cover art, I wouldn't do each song individually. I'd click on the album, upload the new cover art, and then I'd adjust the common metadata and hit save. That'll move to the new location too. Okay, let's do one more thing and then we have to set Musicbrainz Picard up. Let's drag this over and let's drag in the deluxe edition of that same album. So I'll cluster everything, and now I'll do the same thing. I'll do lookup first, and that's responding. Well, it looks like it's responding. No, it didn't. I may have a little issue with the database because this should be working. So I'm going to do the same thing. Cluster again. I just dragged it back, and I'm going to scan. Okay, so this found it as a separate album. So this is a genre of rhythm and blues. Release type, this does EP also. Now, if you wanted to manually change this, you could change that and get rid of the EP. It might scan in as a regular album. So I want to show you what happens if I get rid of both these matches, and as long as it says 0 on a 16 and 0 on a 6 for each one, I can get rid of them from the right pane. I'm going to cluster them all again. I'm going to highlight both of them, and now I'm going to, well, let me try lookup again. Lookup is working now, and it matched them both properly. That doesn't always work. Sometimes you'll get a duplicate number of songs in one, and they'll be missing from the other. So when you have that happen, just back up, don't save any changes, and add them separately to then save. So I haven't set Musicbrainz Picard up to save yet, or we haven't set yours up. Mine is set. So let's go to Options, Options again, and get down to the file naming. Now we don't want to save in the same directory we're working on, especially if we're doing a couple albums at a time. So you want to move the files when saving, and you want to pick a destination directory. I'm using the default music folder under Linux. So under Home, my username, Music. I'm not going to move files I don't need. I don't need to move JPEGs or PNG files with it. But if you want to move cover art with it, you can. But I want to be one and done. The cover art's already embedded, and that's good enough for me. So feel free to check this if you want. If Plex dies and there's not anything else, I may not continue on with my little Plex empire if I have to use Jellyfin. So I also delete empty directories. Now, if you leave pictures behind, it may not delete the original album folder. And I'm going to rename files when saving. And I'm using a script I got off Reddit that I like, and I just call it rename script from Reddit. So I have this here that I'll paste in the description. Let me copy that. So we're going to edit the file naming script. This will be your first time, so you'll click on script, add new script, empty blank script. I'm going to paste that in. Well, it must be I didn't copy properly. Right click and copy it. Right click and paste. No, I'm having copy and paste issues. What is going on here? It works there. That's interesting. What's going on here? All right. Edit. Script. New. Empty blank. Do I have to name it first? Let me name it Reddit demo. Man, I still don't have the clipboard. Technical difficulties. It's still in the clipboard. Isn't that a pain right in the butt? Okay, I'm not going to waste this video. I'm going to pause it or stop it and reboot and see if that's the issue. Linux is almost perfect, but sometimes it's not. I will be back to you in a little bit. And I'm back after the reboot, so let's try this again. Let's get this in the clipboard, Control-C, verify it, it works, Control-Z to get rid of that. So let's go back into Options of Musicbrainz Picard, Options again. Under the file naming, check Move Files. Pick your destination directory like I have. Don't work out of the same working folder. Decide whether you want to copy graphics over, delete empty files, rename files when saving. And then over here, edit file naming script. Script, new, edit script. And I can't paste in my... All right, what am I doing wrong? Oh, I am editing. I did not need to reboot. I need to add a new script. All right, let me start fresh. Edit naming, script, add a new script, empty blank script. And still I can't paste. Well, I can't finish the video if I can't paste. What on earth is going on? All right, this is a bug. I don't know why I can't get it to work. I'll pause you and see if I can figure it out. Well, I haven't fixed the bug, but drag and drop works. So I'm going to highlight this and drag it and drop it. Wow, that was hard. Okay, so I'm going to title it, let's just call this one Reddit Demo. I'll click down here, make it so. And Reddit Demo is selected and not my renamed script from Reddit. I'll make it so here. Now let me go to Options and Options again. Still on File Naming. And I'm still using the Reddit Demo. Okay, let's get back to where we were. Alright, I need to get these two windows set up so I can drag albums in. Okay, so we're going to the In Tongues album. And let's drag them both in. And I'll cluster. And I'll do this one first with lookup. This time it's working. And then I'll do this one. Now if I had done them both at the same time, they might not have scanned in separately at the same time. So we've got the new script in here. So let's go to this folder. This is the finished folder. And let me have just enough of this on screen. Let me highlight both of these and click Save. So you see it created the artist folder, and then it created one folder instead of two. All right, where's this album? Where's this one, this song? So unfortunately that didn't work. We have duplicates now that are not a match for what we want. So let's see if we can do this differently. Let me get rid of all this. Let's go back here. And that's why I had a backup. So I still had some files left over, so those are overwriting. Okay, let's bring Musicbrainz Picard back in and get rid of both these. And now let's go back and grab each of them separately. Let's do the EP first. We'll cluster. We'll look up. We've got a gold icon. We have 6 songs. Let me do one thing. Let me change to this in case something went wrong with my paste. Make it so. Let me save. I'll get rid of that. Now I'll drag the deluxe one in, cluster, look up. Definitely the 16 song album. Click on the main album, save again. Let's remove it. Now let's go back here. And I've got the same problem again. Well, what did I just see here? I think this describes what I'm feeling right now. This song, the name of that song. I don't know what's wrong. Let me pause you and figure it out. Well, I haven't really figured it out, but I have an idea. I'm going to drag them both back in. Now I'm working onto the same directory. So, we've got the same date. And I bet if I search the database for Musicbrainz Picard, I might come up with something. So, never double click over on the original side, double click on the future side of the metadata. I'm going to do Control C and then escape. I'm going to Control V to paste that in, space dash space. And I'm going to do the same with the album title, escape to get out of that, and then Control V to paste that in. And I'm going to look for different releases of the 16 track one. Okay, let's bring the format down. So I don't know which of these I have, but I can't add the same one twice. So let me double click on that, and it's not adding. Let me search again. I'll sort by the tracks to get 16 again. And now I will double click on this one, which brought in the other version. Let's drag that in, and now let's look at this 16. 2018, February 14th. 2018, February 14th. They're all the same. So maybe it's a different version of the, or different release of the 6-song album. So let's look for that. I'll sort by tracks. And now you see how there's this, I think XW, is that Chinese, US? So let's try the vinyl one from the US. So now I'm going to drag this up to there and see how they swap spaces or places. So now this has a 2023 release versus the metadata I had given of 2018. So here's the 2018 for the deluxe, and here's this EP with a 2023. And if we drop down, it shows as an EP here, and this actually shows as an EP too. So now, let's do this one more time. So you see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 versions of the 6-song album, and a couple version of the 16. So now that I've got them each with a different release based on what was available, I'll hit save. Now they each scan in as a separate album. So let's move those to Plex before we go any further. So I have some experience with Musicbrainz Picard, and even this one threw me a little bit. All right, so let's get the web app up first. Now I haven't updated the release of Plex server for any of my test servers, only my main server. Let's go to library. Let's go to music. I've got 3 artists in here, and they're public domain albums. All my test servers has public domain, but sometimes I use them with regular media. This library is set up to scan automatically when I add music to it. So I'm pasting that music over. The scanning has taken place. The file operation is done. We scanned the artist. And we don't have any albums, regular albums. We have under the singles and EP, we have both albums. But they don't really say what is what. If I look in here, I know this is the later release. And I know this is the earlier deluxe one. So the best I can do right now is edit this in to say deluxe after in tongues. But if you really want it to be permanent, let's do something else. Let's move this. All right, which one is which? This one, not that one. Let's get this one out of here. Let's move it back. Let's move it back to the finished folder. I can work on a one album or one folder. All right, let me scan this again. We got rid of one album. So this is the deluxe one. Let's bring Musicbrainz Picard back in. Let's drag this in. Oh, I did drag it in. Drag it all over. Okay, so all right, let's start fresh. Let's drag it back in. Okay, how am I going to fix this? I am going to just update the metadata, and it won't be a match for what's in the database, but at this point I don't really care. I want this to always scan into Plex the way I want it to. Everything else is matched metadata-wise. So I'm just going to change the album title. I'm just going to use all caps. And now I'm going to, because it's clicked on for the album and not individual songs, I'm going to save that. Now I can pull it out and see how it gave it its own name. That's embedded in the metadata too. So let's get rid of that. Let's refresh the network drive and I'll paste that back in, and we'll bring Plex back over and see what happens. Now that did not pick up because Plex is matching it itself. So if I was using all local metadata, which I don't want to do, that would have scanned in properly. And let's test that theory. Let's go to Manage Library and Edit, Advance, and let's click Prefer Local Metadata and scan this again. Now this might not work out unless you've got all the proper embedded local metadata. All right, so let's back out of this. And now let's scan the whole library again. Let's refresh metadata for both albums. There it is. The metadata refresh brought in the deluxe. Now again, this is a dangerous option unless all your other metadata is perfect. Now I have a various artist too that I didn't have before. So let's go back and change this. Advanced. Prefer local metadata. Let's scan the library and let's refresh all metadata. Well, I guess I did have a various artist before. So I lost the deluxe and the cover changed also. So let's take these out again. Bring them back into Musicbrainz Picard. And you see how the deluxe one has a different cover. So let's try 1/3 option, see if that'll work. Bring these back into the test server. Let's see if we can adjust the metadata for just the affected album. All right, scan the library again. Now our track numbering is off on that one. Let's see if we can edit this. I don't have an advanced option. And I've got one more track that I don't need. I'm really screwing the pooch on this one. Yeah, so one of the deluxe songs is now showing up. So let's keep playing with this. All right, let's go into Manage Library, Empty Trash. Let's go into the settings and we will complete the Plex dance by cleaning the bundles. Move these back to Plex. Refresh the network drive, move them back in. So this is using the cover art from the database for the wrong version of the album. And I can't seem to get it right unless I switch to local metadata. Now we have the correct 6 songs. So I really wish there was a way to switch the metadata just for this one album. We don't have the option. So I'm going to go back to the library and go back to the advanced settings. And we'll prefer the local tags again. Scan. Refresh metadata. That brought in the embedded cover art, and it added the new name from the embedded metadata itself. So that must be the fix for this one. Okay, let's continue on and get the rest of these albums added. So, music to process. Oh, if we look in these 2 folders, there's not much left. All right, so let's bring in these 4 all at once. Let's cluster them. I've got one song hanging out, so I'm going to double click on it to see the file structure. So this looks like a single. So let's start with that. Let's just hit lookup. And if lookup didn't work, I'd hit scan next. If scan didn't work, I'd search for the album and the song number. Okay, so that looks good to me. We'll save and remove. Let's do Nectar. Let's look inside first. If I see duplicate tracks, that means the original folder structure might have an MP3 version and a FLAC version. So I'm going to look up. Now, gold is good, but I want to expand just to make sure everything looks good. The darker the green, the more likely the match. So, track number 8 out of 18 becomes 8. 3 minutes is 3 minutes on what it's supposed to have and what it really has. Let's pick a lighter green. Everything still looks good. So I'm going to save. And as long as all this is done down at the bottom, let me taskbar, I can remove. So I'll just double check both of these. They look good. I'm going to do both at the same time by selecting both. It was just a shift and a down arrow, or I can hold the control key and select them both. I will do a lookup on both. Now you can do a lot of albums at once as long as you don't have multiple versions of the same album. Let's double check. Things look good. Save. When it's all done down here, I can remove them. Now if I look inside these, there's really nothing left. Just some leftover files. So I'll get rid of them. And now let's... Okay, so I just did this album. Let's drag this... Actually, let's drag both of these in. Let me just double check. Did I do that? Yes, and I have 21 tracks. Let's cluster these. This is weird. It's 30 seconds. These are normal tracks. There's got to be something wrong with this. It's got to be a misfire. So I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm going to get rid of it. All right, so let's bring back our completed one. Okay, 21, the date is 2026, February 6th. All right, let's see what happens if we look up that. All right, so that's a duplicate. It is going to just ruin the one we've already saved, so let me get rid of it and go back to the processing album, and I'll get rid of both of these. There's nothing good in there. All right, so let's do everything at once. I've got multiple smithereens, so let me not do those. Let me just do these next. I'll cluster. Okay, so this came in as being correct, but if you look, it made a match because it had enough metadata to do so without intervention by me. But the Musicbrainz Picard metadata is still more advanced. This is what we have currently. So this would scan into Plex fine just as it is. But when in Rome, upgrade the metadata. All right, so let's do the album first here. Let's look into it. Oh, this is interesting. We just had that as the name of the previous album. We double click it. Okay, so it is in the right album folder. I'm reading that right here. Pass won't leave my bed. All right, so let's look that up. Looks good. We'll save it. Remove. And now I'm just going to click on the uncluster and do lookup for both of these. Got one. So let's save that, and we'll leave it as an example. So this does not have a match right now. So let's copy this and see if there's something in the database to find manually. So let me get rid of the date and try that again from this screen. We've got raised on records. We have records, but we don't have anything. Oh, well, this is by the wrong album or the wrong artist. So let me just do a search just for the artist, just to try to cover all bases, and we'll look at single tracks. Well, I don't see anything that looks like it matches. Let me just do this for the heck of it. Oh, I see what's going on. Okay, we've already saved this sanctuary. Okay, look at this. We have a length of 59.49, 59 minutes and 49 seconds. This is one long track. This is obviously an unlisted recording. So I don't know how Plex would add this, but let's see. We don't have album cover art. We have a title. We have an artist. We have an album. So I don't like any of this. So let's add a date. Let's right click and remove that date. Then let's right click here and add to preserve tag list. No, that's not what I want. Add new tag. Let's search for date. Click on the results and let's do 2020-06-21 and save it. So now we've got a date. So now we can edit the date out of each of these. Double clicking, getting rid of it, and then just hitting enter. So the artist is good, the title is good, the album is good, the date's good. Well, I don't really like that. We have the good one, we have the bad one. Let's remove the bad one. I missed that step. And let's call this an EP also. So right click any place, add new tag, and is there an album type? Okay, I need help with this. Let's drag this back in. Okay, Musicbrainz -album type is a single. So I want to do that for this. Musicbrainz album type. Add new tag. All right. Maybe I can do it this way. My small brain can't remember what I just read. Let's go back to this for the example. So I'll copy that and go back over here. add new tag and search for this. And I'll edit the value and type single. Okay. Alright, so that should be enough. I don't have cover art for it though. Well, let's try to solve that too. This is not going to be a short video. Well, I'm not coming up with anything that will be perfect. Let me just grab something to use. I don't know what this is. I'm just going to save it to have as an example. Oh, it's a WebP. I want a PNG or a JPEG. Let's do it this way. Okay, let me pause you for a second. Okay, I'm back. So we downloaded some cover art. I'm going to go back in and right click, choose local file, downloads, modified, test cover art, open, and it's a little small, but you get the picture of what we're doing here. So this will be Eric's unlisted album that we've just made into a single, or his unlisted single. So now I'm going to remember the name of it, Record on Records, and I'm going to hit save. This was already saved. So let's see if we have that in our finished Record on Records, and we've got the album art. So hopefully it'll scan into Plex perfectly fine. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Let's just drag it all in. And let's cluster it. All right, so the Smithereens, I've got multiple versions. So let's get rid of that. And let's just scan for these two, or look up actually. So they're both official singles, it looks like. So I will just save them. And now we'll go to the Smithereens. All right, this one looks like CD1, 101 through 105, and then CD2, 201 through 204. This is similar, just broken up. All right, so that has 9, same total songs. That's 9. We don't need an extra one of those. That's 9 songs. Now these may be different versions, but I don't really care about that at this point. I'm not a collector who wants every release version of a certain album that all has the same songs. An extended album is different. So let's drag this in. And let's cluster it and look it up. So I'm not going to save this at the time being. Let's drag this next one in, cluster it. Now, chances are this is going to add to this and ruin it. So let's look at this. This has got a 2022 date. So let's just take that for a ride, see if we can find a different release of this with that date than what Musicbrainz Picard thinks it is. So I'm going to search by that, and we have 9 songs. And we're looking for 2022 versus 2023. So let's sort by the track number. So here's 11/4/2022. We don't have a date on any of these. And here's 11/11. But this is instrumentals. Now, with that many different versions of the same album, you could listen to them to see if one might be the instrumental. I can't do it on YouTube. I'll probably get a copyright strike if I played the music. But what we can do is just take a look at the dates. And unfortunately, the only different date we have is this. So this is a CD of 9. And this is 2 times digital media, as all 3 of these are. And they don't show a different country, so I don't know why they're different. So let's bring that in. Let's search again. Sort by the date. And let's bring this other digital media one in and just see if we can see anything that's different. (1104). 1104 the same year. USWB 12/12/01. This script says LATN 2 total disc. Same thing for that. All right, so let's drag this back. Let's just get rid of one of these. So you see, this is 1 through 9, and this is 5 songs on the first album and 4 on the second. So let's just get rid of everything over here. Okay, so that's a 2-disc one. So let's drag that in. Let's cluster it. And let's match that up with a 2-disc one. And we'll just save it. Oh, I removed it. I really screwed the pooch by hitting the wrong button. Easy to get back. Alright, so there's the 2-disc one. Let's save that. That's a 2-disc one too. And here's all as 1 disc, so let's bring this in. Cluster, and we'll save here. All right, we'll drag it over, and then we'll save, and we'll see if we have 2 separate albums. We may not. Oh, this is 2023, so we will have a separate album if we save that one. All right, so I've got 2 separate Smithereen albums. Do I? No, I don't. Yes, I might. I didn't save the other one. Let's see what we have now. Yeah, we have the 2 separate albums. All right, let's bring all this in so we can end the video. This has been an interesting artist to play with. All right, let's bring Plex up while that copies. It's about halfway done. So again, Plex is finding this as the same album. So if I edit it, this is from 2023, but it's a re-release. So if you wanted, you could go in manually and change the date. Or you could go in and embed that new date in the right spot. Plex would find it. You could even make your own cover album, embed that, and you could just put 2023 someplace on it. 2024. I can't read this, but it looks like a piano with maybe some lettering there. I don't know, but Eric, that's about the best I can do with my knowledge of Musicbrainz Picard. I do have other Musicbrainz Picard videos, and you're not going to get to this level of having certain things be intuitive, but the more you play with it, the more you'll realize it's an invaluable tool for your Plex music collection. Now, also in that thread, open Facebook back up. Let me find it. Nick had paid me a nice compliment under the thread with Eric. He said, "I truly enjoy every single video you put out, even if it doesn't apply to my setup. It is valuable knowledge to me. Thank you for being so helpful to everyone. At some point, I'd like to get a glimpse of your music video library. Keep up the good work." I don't have a music library, Nick, and I appreciate that nice compliment. I've never delved into that. Let me take a look. Years ago, I tried to have a fun music video library. I still have the structure for it, I think. And because I never know how to end a video, let me pause it and go there real quick and see if this works. Okay, now that we're done with Eric and we're on to Nick's music video question, I have these ripped videos from YouTube for the SUSE operating system. They're music parodies involving SUSE. I thought it would be cool to have on my Plex server, and I did a long while ago. No one ever watched it, even though I thought they were cool. So let's add this as a library. And you see I played around with having some music videos by these different artists. I thought maybe someday I'd have a party I could put it on the TV, but that's never going to happen. And I love the OK Go videos on YouTube. Okay, so let me pull this out of here. We're done with Musicbrainz Picard. Let me go to my regular server. Let me drop down to libraries. And let me add an other video library. Let me paste that name in. Next, let me browse through that messy folder structure. So here's the alias of my Docker container running under Unraid. Here's my other video library. And I think I am, where am I? My music videos. SUSE Linux parodies. I don't think there's any advanced settings to use or to change. So let me add a library. They're not hard to add. If I click into it, you're just seeing the name of the file that I gave it, which might have been ripped from the YouTube title with the 4K downloader software that I've paid for and I use if I need something from YouTube. But they're not the best artwork for it. So I just found this is a lot of work for no one ever watching that on my server. Not all my friends and family are on my server. But I do appreciate the compliment. And I wish people enjoyed Linux the way I do to watch a music parody video on this certain operating system. Okay, sorry this is so long, Eric, Thanks for the compliment. I forgot your name already. I'm so bad. Anyway, thank you. Happy plexing.